So we're looking ahead to the 3-day Easter festival at Fairyhouse. And first up, Patrick, just confirming really, you are able to ride an 8-day suspension from Cheltenham, having been reduced by half following your appeal. You must be delighted to be in the saddle at this meeting. It's probably a meeting that means a lot to you.
Definitely. The Easter Monday, the Irish Grand National, that's always one of the biggest days of the calendar. And there's such great tradition and stories going way back. I mean, the queues to get into Fairyhouse on Easter Monday, I remember we used to sit in the car for 45 minutes. So they've also got a better traffic system going on now, and the motorway came in. It's much easier to get in and out of, but it is probably, it's probably the best standalone single day with the best atmosphere, Easter Monday in Fairyhouse, yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen the clips this morning across social media of the days of Arkle, long before me, of course. But God, the scenes that those days looked absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, and of course, going back, you read about Desert Orchard and Nina and Katie winning it. Obviously, were huge days, and we always had terrible luck at it. We couldn't get horse to finish it, let alone win it, until Burrow Saint came along with Ruby, and it was a race that was very difficult to win, obviously. And
okay, we'll come on to the national shortly, but first up, we'll have a quick spin through some of your rides personally. First up, seemingly your big chance on day one, Magic McColgan. That's in the famous colours now of Kenny Alexander. This is in the listed mare's bumper. She looks likely to be well suited by the testing ground.
Yeah, she's a sister to Tornado Flyer, and Hurricane Fly then is obviously in the second dam, so it's a super pedigree. She was very good in Leopardstown, which was very soft ground. I don't know if you recall that meeting. It was a real washout of a day, and they got racing quite early around the home bend, and we ended up letting them go by us and switching in, and getting back up. But she's not a slow mare. We had to make the running because there was no speed, but I didn't want to get racing on her too early because she has a bit of speed. So it wasn't a case that she got outpaced and stayed on. It was a deliberate maneuver we had to make the running because no one wanted to make the running, but then just because you're in front doesn't mean you have to ride a stamina race. So even though she handles the ground, I do think she has plenty of speed, and that'll suit her well. Flashaway is our other horse in it, Jodie Townend. She obviously stays very well. She in Goran on bottomless ground like the Somme that day, and she's entitled to come on a bit as well from that. So there's not a whole lot between them, and we obviously got to give Jodie has a habit of upsetting the odds, but I'm a big fan of Magic McColgan, and I'd like to think she could be hard to beat.
Okay, good stuff. On to Sunday. Who have you plumped for in the Tattersalls Island Bumper? This is a race won by some real quality horses over the years, including Brighter Days Ahead, I think, 12 months ago for Gordon.
It's a €100,000 bumper. It's the joint most valuable bumper in Ireland. So to be honest, I actually don't know what I'm riding at. Willie hasn't told me. So this is an unusual race that a lot of these horses wouldn't be running now only for the prize, the money that's there. So they're all kind of 3/4, 7/8 ready. Kopek the Boards is a horse that I like an awful lot. He's a little bit hot, but I think he's got an awful lot of ability. Fine big chasing type. And Dr. Steinberg is a Dr. Dino, smaller, sharper type, which might lead you to think that he could be the one. In an early 4-year-old race like this. I can't ride La Notte Verte, the Australia affiliate many years, got 10 stone 11. So look, we haven't been able to do much with them. So I'm leaving it up to Willie in this case. I don't make the choice. So I'm not sure yet. I think maybe Kopek could be the one long term, but Dr. Steinberg might be the sharper of the two this weekend.
You're not able to ride in the Simon Munir and Isaac Swade Silks there, but I think you're on board fun in the Mares Novice Hurdle.
Yeah, the grade 1, the Honeysuckle, 2.5 miles. We're toying with the idea of maybe waiting and going to Aintree with her because I think her style of racing would suit. She's a very fast jumper, and she runs a little bit keen. And Aintree is very much a jumping track and obviously a fast track. But it looks like there's a lot of good gelding is going to go there, so we decided to take our chance here. Her pedigree is, the Listener York Hill. Her pedigree would suggest the ground will be no problem and tripping no problem, but she's going to have to settle. That's going to be the big thing. So if she settles, I think she's got a huge chance. But you know, we're a little bit fresher than Jade DeGrugy and not having gone to Cheltenham. So I think if she settles, there's a huge chance, but that's going to be the question mark.
Okay, there is a Grade 1 on the card as well, of course. The now Willow Gold Cup. Willie has declared Tactical Move and Blood Destiny, of course. Interesting one. What do you make of him back over 2.5 miles?
Yeah, look, I think he probably better suited the shorter trips. You know, he jumps pretty sharp. Now we did change tactics the last day, and you know, dropped them in rather than going forward with them. Splan's Tower, they're obviously 1-1, but I think the conditions on Sunday are probably going to suit Splan's Tower slightly better than us, stepping up and trip. And I think at the weights he's better off. So I'm not entirely sure this is Blood Destiny's perfect conditions, but you know, he'll run very well. But I think it could be advantage to Splan's Tower on the day.
And a line 2 on Tactical Move then. He's a lightly raced horse, isn't he? 10-year-old now, but he's kind of crept his way along to this sort of target. How's his progress been?
Yeah, look, he's out of Den Woman, who's a sister to Den Man. So, and he's that kind of horse, big, strong gelding. He's very fragile. You know, we get him to track usually once or twice a year. But this year now he's a bit older. He seems to be sticking to the training more. He's got huge ability. He's got huge ability. He's much older than your normal novice chaser. And yeah, I think in time, probably 3 miles, you know, being them, I think 3 miles is going to suit him well. But should the top two, you know, flounder a bit, he could be one to pick up the pieces.
And Tactical Move, if you just go back to January, he actually was second in his beginner's chase to Nick Rockett, which leads us on nicely to the feature on Monday, the Boyle Sports Irish Grand National. Always a fantastic race, as we said. It's usually really is full of drama, this race. What's it like to ride around Fairyhouse over 3-5 on such testing ground? I'd imagine it's pretty tough going.
It is, but there's lots of jumping. They have 3 fences in the straight for this meeting. They normally only have 2. 3 up the side, three on each of the sides. So the start is right in the corner, right beside the stands. You can hear the stands. I remember we were there in 2022, and you could hear the crowd chanting. Don't know, was it? Can't remember exactly what it was, but you know, you
something
really
nice, hopefully.
Yeah, I know it was a song. I know, was it What's That Coming Over the Hill or something like that. But the start is a little bit chaotic, obviously. However, this year, strangely, it looks like the field is going to fill. You know, it's going to be less than 30 horses. So there might be a little bit more room, which might make the start a little less frantic. It's an unusual race that it's normally very hard to drop in. And they normally go fast over the first 3 or 4 and then pull up. Now, obviously, I Am Maximus did drop in last year. There's always the exceptions. But it is a race where it seems to pay the rates prominently because, as with a lot of things in Ireland, you know, we go fast for a half mile and then we steady up and come home then.
And Nick Rockett himself, he looks a dare stayer, doesn't he? With course form in the book already. There's been a fair bit of conjecture about this opening handicap rating of 146. Does it give him a sporting chance in your view?
Look, it does. He's won a graded hurdler on Fairyhouse. He's one of the beginners there. Look, he's not a big horse. He's a smaller type of horse, and he's going to have to carry a lot of weight. I read that Farragh Delenn probably goes to Aintree with the weights are going to go up again. This isn't a race that really favours top higher weights, and for me, the weight he's going to have to carry is going to be a massive negative. Particularly with the size of him and the way the ground is going to be. Now, the flip to that is a lot of races recently on really heavy ground have been ran so steadily early on, they've turned into sprints later on. And the ground, you know, you saw it in Cheltenham maybe with Absurd in the county hurdle. If you go slow enough, the ground isn't as much of a negative as you would expect it to be. But I think for 2 of our horses, Manila Cooner and Nick Rockett, they're going to be carrying an awful lot of weight on heavy ground. It's going to be a huge ask. And for that reason, the horse I'm keenest on is We'll Have One, who gets in right down the bottom. I think he'll be a pound out if Farragh Delenn does go to Aintree. And would probably claim off maybe as well. Maybe Kieran Callahan could ride him. He ran really well in the Grand National Trial. When he ran maybe a little bit keen. And I think if we can get him to settle a little bit better. I think he's got a lovely profile.
Yeah, interesting. We have seen horses win from fraction out of the weights in this race before, haven't we? A low weight does seem beneficial, as you say. Finally, then, just another strong chance on Monday. How do you sort of spin us through this 3 in the bumper? Do you give up on Redemption Day yet? He's one who's just let a few people down, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'm a massive Redemption Day fan. But it used to be a beautiful ride, and he is still at home. But his 2 runs in Leopardstown, he just ran too keen, and we don't know why. So we might put a hood on him, might settle him. I would have a major concern for the ground for him. For me, his bad run was when he ran in Cheltenham behind Pasavegan. It was very soft ground. That's a concern for me. I'm a huge Coco Masterpiece fan, and he's a fine big horse. He's 7. He had lots of issues. He was the last winner my grandmother backed when he won in Thurles from the Charlie. So
That was him, was it?
that was Coco Masterpiece. So I told her that he might do the business. So she said she'd to buy a drink out of the winnings, is what she said. So we still have got around to that. But I just think on the ground, Coco Masterpiece, for me, Redemption is all speed, and if he doesn't settle on the ground, he won't get home. So Coco Masterpiece might just have the advantage in these conditions.
Well, that'd be a nice way to round out the Easter Festival for you and the team. Hopefully the Mullins bandwagon can roll on as we expect. So good luck, Patrick. Thanks for your time.
Great. Thanks so much, Matt.